from the broadcast studio, hitting in the static. This ain't no bedtime story, son, it's prophetic. Encrypted signals from the shadows of the garden. We dig where the dirt got secrets, no parting. Microphone alchemist, scriptures with a twist. Peep the frequency, seeds in the mist. We drop bars like plagues, revelations in the cadence. Broadcasting truth while they trapped in surveillance. Wisdom with a watchman's blade. Fourth watch style while your whole system fade. Blood moons, Nephilim, echoes in the pine. Sasquatch stomping through the fault lines of time. We ain't mainstream, we ancient stream. Cipher with the prophets, decode the dream. So if you tuned in, better guard your mind. It's broadcasting seeds and we breaking the design.
You ever notice how the world never really goes back to normal after a war? The dust settles, the parades end, and then something weirder slides in through the cracks. Tonight we're going to into one of those cracks. And it's a cold one. Antarctica. Picture that. The year's 1946, the United States has just helped win the biggest war in human history. And instead of kicking back with a victory cigar, the Navy loads up thousands of men, dozens of aircraft, and a small armada, then points them at the bottom of the world. They called it Operation Highjump. Sounds like a summer camp activity, but it wasn't. Officially, Highjump was a test, harsh weather training, mapping the continent, building a research station. All very reasonable. But here's where the temperature drops. People start whispering about Nazi holdouts under the ice, secret U-boats, exotic tech that never made it onto the battlefield. And somewhere in the white silence, a shadow that doesn't fit the map. The kind of thing that makes rational men stare a little too long at the horizon. I'm Bennett Tanton, and this is Broadcasting Seeds, the show where we ask the questions that get you side-eyed at family gatherings and keep you up a little later than you planned. We explore strange things, cryptids, conspiracies, the paranormal, the biblical, and the cover-ups that stitch it all together. Our mission is simple. Learn the story behind the story. Understand how the weird interests and it intersects with your life. Because if the past is hiding secrets in the ice, odds are those secrets are shaping the world you'll wake up to tomorrow. So here's the plan for today. First, we'll lay out the official story, what the Navy said, what they brought, and what happened when their boots hit the ice. Then we'll descend a level and follow the rumors of Nazi bases under the shelf, U-boats slipping past the Antarctic Circle, a project with names like the Bell. Finally, we'll zoom out and ask the hard question: did Highjump light a fuse on the modern UFO era, or are we just seeing Cold War paranoia through a frosty lens? I'm not asking you to believe anything yet. I'm asking you to be curious, to look for patterns, to notice the points where the official record goes quiet and the folklore gets loud. That is usually where the truth is trying to breathe. If you're new here, welcome to the campfire. If you've been rolling with me a while, you know the drill. Tap follow, leave a review, share this with a friend who loves a good rabbit hole. That is how the show grows. And it keeps me, it helps keep making these deep dives for you. Section 1, the coldest war, the official story no one could quite explain. So, let's start with what we know, or at least what we're told. Operation Highjump wasn't some small research trip with a few scientists in a tent. It was the largest Antarctic expedition in human history. And we're talking about 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, 33 aircraft, and enough logistics to invade a small country. Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a decorated explorer and national hero, was put in charge. The official line? Scientific exploration and training for cold weather operations. Now, that sounds innocent enough until you look closer. And the mission was supposedly to last 6 months. It ended in barely 8 weeks. The fleet came home battered and bruised. Some reports mention multiple aircraft loss, strange equipment malfunctions, and men suffering from frostbite, exhaustion, and something that wasn't quite physical. Byrd gave a few interviews about his after his return, and one of his statements still hangs in the air like his breath on that frozen continent. He said the United States must prepare for the possibility of hostile craft that can fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Hold up. Hostile craft from pole to pole. This was 1947. Jet propulsion was barely a toddler. So what exactly did he see out there? Some say Byrd's words were misinterpreted or mistranslated. What? Others believe it was a slip, an echo of something too classified for the evening news. And then there was the secrecy. When Byrd's logs and journals were finally released, huge sections were redacted. Convenient, right? No one really explained why the mission wrapped up so early, and official reports blame weather and supply issues. But the Antarctic summer had just begun. Here's where the story gets even stranger. Right after Highjump, Byrd supposedly briefed Pentagon officials warning of an unknown enemy capable of attacking anywhere on Earth. Within months, the Cold War kicked into high gear. The timing is suspicious, to say the least. So maybe Operation Highjump was just a military drill, or maybe, as some whisper, the ice wasn't the only thing that froze the blood of everyone who went down there. Because when thousands of soldiers go to the end of the earth and come back silent, you have to ask, what did they really find? Section 2, Shadows Beneath the Ice, the Nazi base that wouldn't die. Here's where the story turns from military mystery to full-blown legend. If Operation Highjump was the match, then the idea of the Nazi base buried beneath Antarctica is the gas that's kept this fire burning for nearly 80 years. According to the most colorful accounts, the story starts before World War II even ended. And in 1938, Nazi Germany sent an expedition to a region they called New Schwabenland, a vast stretch of Antarctic territory between 20 degrees east and 10 degrees west. On paper, it was about whaling rights and research. But let's be honest, when the Third Reich did research, it often meant something way more exotic. Reports claim they mapped massive underground caverns, dropped thousands of Nazi flags to mark territory, and discovered ice-free zones warmed by geothermal vents. Perfect for hidden bases. Fast forward to 1945, the war is over. Berlin has fallen. Hitler's dead, or so we're told. But then sightings start rolling in. U-boats slip past the South Atlantic. Argentinian newspapers reporting strange German activity near the Southern Ocean. And 2 German subs even surrendered months after the war ended, their logs conveniently incomplete. So where were they hiding? That's when the legend of Base 211 takes shape, an alleged fortress carved into the ice where SS scientists and engineers continued their work on experimental technology. Some even tie it to Die Glock, or the bell, a rumored device that manipulated gravity and possibly dimensions. Think anti-gravity propulsion, time distortion, the whole sci-fi package, but decades before we supposedly had the tech. Now, here's the part that makes researchers squirm. Just as Allied intelligence began tracing Nazi escape routes through South America, Operation Highjump gets the green light. A year later, Byrd and thousands of men are streaming straight towards the same coordinates the Nazis were rumored to occupy. Coincidence? I mean, maybe. But when Highjump ended early and several planes went down under mysterious conditions, the dots started connecting themselves. Eyewitnesses claimed the Navy encountered flying discs emerging from the water, attacking at impossible speeds before vanishing beneath the ice. Byrd's diary allegedly describes flaming silver objects and an engagement that forced the fleet to retreat. The U.S. military denies it, of course. But here's what is super interesting. Not one of those witnesses ever publicly recanted. And so the legend lives. Half history, half haunting. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was classified weapons testing. Or maybe the Nazis found something under the ice that wasn't human, and we showed up to make sure it stayed buried. So, what happened after the retreat? Why did UFO sightings spike across the globe within a year of Operation Highjump? And how did Nazi scientists suddenly end up in the United States working on aerospace propulsion? Section 3, Fire in the Sky. UFOs, paperclip, and the birth of the modern mythos. So what happened after Admiral Byrd and his fleet hightail it out of Antarctica? Within months, headlines around the world start talking about flying discs. The heck? Kenneth Arnold spots 9 saucers skipping across the Washington skies in June of 1947. A few weeks later, something crashes in Roswell, New Mexico, and the U.S. military can't seem to make up its mind if it's a weather balloon or a flying saucer. Suddenly, the idea of unidentified flying objects isn't pulp fiction. It's front page news. Now, think about the timing. Operation Highjump wraps in early 47. Byrd warns of craft that can fly from pole to pole. Then boom, the UFO era begins. You could chalk that up to coincidence, or you could ask the uncomfortable question: did something follow us back from the ice? Around the same time, Operation Paperclip quietly brings more than 1,600 Nazi scientists to the United States. 1,600 of them. men who'd worked on the V-2 rockets, all kinds of experimental aircraft, and supposedly even magnetogravitic propulsion. These weren't fringe guys. They were top-tier engineers. Werner von Braun, for example, goes from building weapons for Hitler to building rockets for NASA. And buried among those scientists were others who specialized in technology so strange that the Pentagon locked away their patents for decades. It's easy to see how the dots connect. Nazi scientists, sudden leaps in aerospace tech, reports of discs in the sky, and a government that starts classifying everything under the sun. Even Byrd's own journals vanish into redacted archives. Officially, the world moved on. Unofficially, something freaking changed. A veil dropped. We entered the age of the secret sky. But let's be clear. This isn't about saying aliens fought the Navy. It's about tracing how one expedition may have triggered a global shift in thinking. Suddenly, humanity's greatest enemy wasn't just another country. It was, frankly, the unknown. The Cold War made sure we stayed afraid of each other. But Highjump, that made us afraid of the universe itself. When the ice melted, the myth was born. UFOs, advanced propulsion, government cover-ups, it all started to orbit the same invisible gravity well, Antarctica. And if you look closely, every decade since then has carried its echoes. Secret bases, unidentified craft, whispers that the old war never really ended. It just moved underground and up into the sky. So maybe the real story of Operation Highjump isn't what they found. Maybe it's what they brought back. And that's fear, secrecy, and the first spark of the modern UFO age. So here's where we land on the ice, in the silence, staring into a mystery that's been frozen for nearly 80 years. Operation Highjump might have been just a massive military exercise, or maybe it was something else entirely, a line crossed between our world and whatever's lurking beneath it. Either way, it left behind a trail of unanswered questions and just enough truth to keep that legend alive. Think about it. A global superpower sends a full fleet to the most desolate place on Earth, led by a man known for chasing the edges of the map. They come back early, they come back shaken, and the next thing that we know, the skies are suddenly full of flying discs. The Cold War is heating up, and the people running the show start locking information behind vault doors. I mean, maybe it's just timing. Or maybe the ice cracked open and something slipped through. But that's the thing about history. Sometimes it's less about what's written down and more about what gets erased. The declassified files, the witness accounts, the whispers that refuse to die, these are all seeds waiting to be noticed. And when you start connecting them, you realize the world isn't as stable or simple as we'd like to think. So whether you believe Operation Highjump uncovered a Nazi base or an alien craft or just the limits of human sanity in the coldest place on Earth, remember this: truth has a funny way of surviving the freeze. If this episode got your gears turning, do me a favor. Share it with a friend who loves a good mystery. Tap that follow button, leave a review, and help the show grow. That's how we keep digging deeper, asking harder questions, and shining a light on the things history tried to bury. I'm Bennett Tanton, and this has been Broadcasting Seeds. Stay curious, stay aware, and keep your eyes on the horizon, because sometimes what's hiding beneath the surface is a lot bigger than you think.
The war is done, or so they said. But some battles don't end when the guns go quiet. They just move south to the ice. They sent a fleet where the world runs out of map. Ice for miles and the sky pitch black. Bird on deck with a code in his pack. Said we found something out here that's looking right back. Frozen steel Nazi sigil in the deep. Rumors of a base where the black sun sleep. Submarines goes through the southern creep, and the UFOs hung where the storm fronts weep.
Military silence, classified violence. Science meets the occult wrapped in compliance. High jump mission, lines in defiance. Truth so cold it could fracture alliance.
Beneath the oak skies,
Signal hung,
shadows move.
the engines run.
They said it's done, but the war ain't won. Operation Highjump, under the sun. Cold winds whisper,
No one comes.
echoes call from the frozen drums. The lies start slow when the truth weighs tons. Antarctica bleeds where the lost ships run. Now they call it progress, rockets to the moon, but the blueprint started in the bunker's tomb. Scientists switch flags, trade doom for a room, and NASA's born from a Nazi womb. They said it's Cold War, nah, it's a cold truth. Ice walls high where the myth find proof. Propulsion so strange they hit the youth, and the fouls got buried in the name of useful pursuits. Admiral whispers,
They fly at speed,
pole to pole,
the headlines read,
but the footage gone to logs,
redacted,
and every soldier swore the same.
distracted.
So maybe it's tech, or maybe it's sin. Maybe we woke the wrong things within. You can't freeze evil, it seeps through skin. Next to ice, what is hiding, it'll grin. Beneath the ice,
The ice, the signal hung,
shadows move.
the engines run.
They said it's done, but the war ain't won. Operation Highjump, under the sun. Cold winds whisper,
No one comes.
echoes call from the frozen drums. The lies start slow when the truth weighs tons. Antarctica bleeds where the lost ships run. This is Admiral Byrd, repeating transmission. Unidentified craft, emerging from beneath the ice, moving faster than any known aircraft. Secrets melt slow in the southern sun, but the ink froze fast when the deal was done. File sealed, nation spun, and the new world order had just begun. From the right to the rockets, truth in disguise. Every empire built on a little white lie. If the ice could talk and testify about men who made gods out of what they couldn't classify. We ain't just talking war, we talking inheritance. Spirits in the code, science and arrogance. They cracked the sky with forbidden experiments, and now we see lights where the snow's still innocent. Some say it was just a training op. Others say they fought something out of this world. But one thing's for sure, when the ice melts, the truth surfaces.